It started with a phone call. I didn't think much of it at first. In fact, I almost didn't answer. It was early, around 7 a.m., and I was just about to get out of bed when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at the screen. It was Maya's name. I wasn't surprised. She had left for a business trip 2 days ago, and I figured she was just checking in. I answered, still half dazed, rubbing the sleep out of my eyes. "Hello?" My voice sounded groggy, even to me. There was a long pause on the other end before she spoke. Her tone was off, something I couldn't quite place. "Hey, can you talk?" Maya's voice was shaky. I could hear it clearly now. Something was wrong. I sat up in bed, the drowsiness fading quickly. "Yeah, of course. What's going on?" Her voice cracked just slightly. "I need to tell you something." Immediately, a knot formed in my stomach. It was the way she said it, so fragile, like she was balancing on the edge of something deep, something I wasn't ready for. My mind immediately jumped to the worst scenarios. Maybe something happened to her, or she was in some kind of trouble. "Is everything okay?" I asked, my heart racing a little. She hesitated. "I don't know how to say this, but something happened." At this point, I was fully awake, the phone gripped tightly in my hand. "What happened, Maya? What's going on?" She sighed heavily, the kind of sigh that tells you a lot more than words ever could. And then she said the words that I'll never forget. "I think I made a mistake." I was silent for a moment. I couldn't process it. A mistake? My thoughts were already spiraling. What could she mean by that? We didn't argue or fight. Nothing felt off when we spoke last. So, what could she be talking about? "What do you mean?" I asked cautiously, trying to sound calm, though inside I was a mess. I did something last night. I don't know if I should have, but it happened, and now I don't know what to do. I'm so confused. She was speaking quickly, as if she wanted to get it all out before she lost her nerve. My mind raced. "What happened, Maya? Please, just tell me." There was another pause, and then her voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "I met someone." The room seemed to grow colder. A lump formed in my throat, and my heart began to pound. I didn't know what to say at first, so I just repeated, in a voice barely above a murmur, "You met someone?" Her words came spilling out like a flood. "I was at this bar last night, just grabbing a drink by myself. I wasn't thinking straight, and I met him there. His name's Oliver, and we just clicked. We talked for hours. He's charming, confident, funny, and we just had this connection, you know?" I wanted to interrupt, to ask 1,000 questions, but my body was frozen. It felt like I was hearing her talk about a different person altogether. Not the woman I had been married to for the past 5 years, but someone else entirely. But she wasn't finished. "I don't know how it happened, but we ended up kissing," Maya said, her voice barely audible. "I didn't plan on it. It just happened." I sat there, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles were turning white. A million thoughts flooded my mind. The room felt like it was spinning. The woman I thought I knew, my wife, my best friend, had kissed another man. And now she was calling me to tell me this, as if it was just another story. I don't know if it was just the alcohol or if I was just looking for something to feel alive again. "I feel terrible," Maya continued. "I just don't know what to do. I'm sorry. I need you to understand, but I don't even understand it myself." I was silent for a long time, the words hanging in the air between us. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I couldn't. All I could do was breathe, in and out, trying to keep myself grounded. Finally, I spoke. "So, what does this mean? What happens now?" "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't know what to do. I needed to tell you because you deserve to know, but I'm not sure where we go from here." I sat in stunned silence, my mind racing, trying to process the sudden flood of emotions. But even then, I knew one thing for sure. This was the moment everything changed. This was the beginning of something I wasn't ready for. I don't know how long I sat there on the edge of the bed, the phone still pressed to my ear, listening to Maya's shaky breath on the other end. The silence stretched for what felt like forever, and my mind was caught in a whirlwind. I had always considered myself a calm, collected person, the kind of guy who could handle anything life threw at him. But now I was drowning in confusion and anger, two emotions that were fighting for dominance. "Are you there?" Maya's voice finally broke through the fog. Her words sounded small, distant, like she was speaking from the other side of a thick glass wall. "Yeah, I'm here," I replied, trying to steady my voice. The last thing I wanted was to break down on the phone, but everything inside me was screaming. How had we gotten here? Why hadn't I seen this coming? "Look," she continued, her voice growing more desperate, "I'm not asking for forgiveness right now. I'm not expecting you to be okay with this. But I had to tell you. I couldn't keep it from you anymore." I took a deep breath, the weight of her confession still heavy on my chest. "Why did you even call me, Maya?" The words came out before I could stop them, sharp and accusing. I didn't mean for them to sound like that, but they did. "Why now? Why not just keep it to yourself if it's just some mistake?" Her silence was painful, and for a moment I regretted what I had said. But then she spoke, and her words hit me harder than I ever expected. "I couldn't live with the guilt. Every time I thought about it, I saw your face. And I couldn't shake the feeling that I was lying to you every second I kept this from you." A sick feeling settled in my stomach. The guilt wasn't what bothered me. It was the way she said it. It felt like she was trying to justify her actions, like she was trying to ease her own conscience. And the worst part? She still hadn't fully admitted the depth of what had happened. "So, what happens now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "What are we supposed to do with this? With what you did? I don't know," she said quickly. "I'm so lost right now. I feel like I've ruined everything. I know it's messed up, and I don't expect you to just forgive me. But I wanted to be honest. I need to figure out if this was just a mistake or if there's more to it. I need time." I felt my hands start to shake, and for a moment, I wondered if I could keep my composure. Maya needed time? What about me? What about the last 5 years of my life? All of it felt like it was crumbling in front of me. "Time?" I repeated, the word tasting bitter in my mouth. "Maya, you can't just ask for time after something like this. Do you understand that? You kissed someone else. You chose to be with someone else. And now you're asking for time?" Her voice broke again, and for the first time, I heard the vulnerability that had been hidden behind her words. "I didn't want it to happen. It wasn't planned. I swear to you, it wasn't. But I can't take it back. I don't know what's wrong with me." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I wanted to yell at her, to ask her a million questions, but I knew I wouldn't get any answers. Not yet. Not until she was ready to face the truth of what had happened. "We need to talk when you get back," I said, my voice finally steady. "But right now, I can't process this over the phone. You've got to come home so we can figure this out face to face." There was a pause on the other end of the line. I could hear her moving around, her breathing shaky. "I understand, but I swear to you, I never meant for it to get this far. I don't want to lose you." The words hung in the air, but they didn't offer any comfort. They felt empty, like a promise that couldn't be kept. I didn't respond immediately. I just listened to her breathe, each breath heavier than the last. "I'll be home soon," she said quietly. "And we'll talk then." "Yeah," I replied, my voice low. "We'll talk." When I hung up, I sat there for what felt like an eternity. I didn't know how to move forward. My mind was a mess, replaying everything she had said. And yet, I couldn't help but feel a sick curiosity gnawing at me. How much of what she said was the truth? How much of it was just a carefully crafted excuse? And most importantly, was she really sorry, or was she just afraid of losing me? The house felt empty without her. I went about my day, but it felt like I was walking through a fog. Nothing seemed real anymore. Everything I thought I knew about my wife, everything I believed about our relationship, was being questioned, and I was left with nothing but a hollow emptiness. When Maya finally returned home a few days later, she didn't come inside right away. She stood outside the door for a few moments, her hands trembling as she held her keys. I could see her face through the small window next to the door. She looked different. Her eyes were red, like she hadn't slept in days. Her shoulders were slumped, as if the weight of the world was resting on them. I opened the door slowly, unsure of what to say, unsure of what I was supposed to feel. She didn't say anything right away, just stood there in the doorway, waiting for me to let her in. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry." And that's when it hit me, the weight of everything that had happened, everything that was yet to come. I didn't know what to expect when Maya came back home. It had been days since that phone call, and the silence between us felt like a suffocating cloud. The weight of her confession hung over me every minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her words replaying in my mind, each one sharper than the last. I kissed someone else. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of everything. When I opened the door and saw her standing there, I wasn't prepared for what came next. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying, but there was something else. Something deeper. The distance between us seemed almost physical, like a wall had been erected in the space where we once stood close. I wanted to reach out, to pull her into my arms, but I didn't know if I could. I wasn't sure if I wanted to. "I'm so sorry," she whispered again, her voice breaking as she stood there in the doorway, barely able to look at me. I just stared at her for a long moment. She looked like a stranger, someone I didn't recognize. The woman standing in front of me was not the same person who had promised me forever. Or so I thought. She was someone different now, someone I didn't know how to forgive. I didn't even know if I wanted to. "Maya," I finally managed, my voice thick with emotion. "How could you do this? How could you kiss him? How long has this been going on?" I didn't want to sound accusatory, but I couldn't stop myself. The anger had been building up inside me since that phone call, and now it was spilling out. I couldn't hide it anymore. I had to know the truth. She looked away, like she was avoiding my gaze, but she didn't run. "It wasn't like that," she said quietly. "It wasn't planned. It just happened. I was in a bad place, and he was just there. We talked, and I felt, I don't know, understood, for the first time in a long while. But it doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't mean anything?" I repeated, my voice rising. "How can you say that? You kissed him, Maya. You chose him. And now you're telling me it doesn't mean anything?" Tears welled up in her eyes, and she blinked them away quickly. She opened her mouth to say something, but then closed it again. She was struggling for words, and I could see that she was hurting, but it didn't change the fact that she had betrayed me. "I don't know what's wrong with me," she whispered, barely audible. "I made a huge mistake, but it didn't mean that I don't love you. I swear I love you. I don't know what happened. I've been feeling so lost lately. I didn't know how to talk to you about it." I stepped back from the door, running my hands through my hair in frustration. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. This wasn't how I imagined we would be after 5 years together. This wasn't what I signed up for. "Maya, you've been feeling lost?" I asked, my voice trembling now. "We've talked about everything. We've shared so much. And you've been feeling lost? You couldn't have said anything before you went and kissed someone else? That's how you handle being lost? By running into another guy's arms?" She flinched at my words, but I didn't care. I was too angry to care. She was breaking me piece by piece, and I needed answers. "I didn't plan it, okay?" she said, her voice shaking. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I never wanted to hurt you. But I've been feeling, I don't know, like I wasn't enough, like I wasn't seen, and I don't know how it happened, but in that moment, with him, it felt like I was finally being seen. I didn't know how to tell you that, and I didn't want to lose you. I didn't think it would go this far." I swallowed hard, the knot in my throat tightening. "So this is about you not feeling seen? Is that what this is? You needed someone else to make you feel important, and you thought kissing another man would fix it." Her face crumpled, and I could see how badly she was hurting. I felt it too, but the pain I felt was different. It wasn't just betrayal. It was confusion, anger, and a deep sense of loss. "Maya," I said, my voice softening despite everything, "I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can move past this. You've shattered something inside me, something I didn't even know was fragile. You kissed another man. How do I even come back from that?" She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. "I don't know," she whispered, "but I want to try. I want us to fix this if you'll let me. I've made the worst mistake of my life, and I don't know how to fix it, but I love you and I need you. Please don't give up on me yet." I stood there in silence, my emotions in turmoil. I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. Part of me wanted to slam the door shut and walk away, but another part of me still loved her. But love wasn't enough, was it? Not when trust had been shattered like this. Not when she had chosen someone else, even if it was just for a moment. "I don't know what to say," I finally admitted, my voice breaking. "I don't know what we're supposed to do from here." Maya reached for me then, her hands trembling as she placed them on my shoulders. "We'll figure it out," she said softly. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I swear I'll do whatever it takes. But please, don't leave me." Her touch felt different now, like it didn't belong to the same woman who had stood by me for years. But I didn't pull away. I stood there, caught between the pain of what had happened and the uncertainty of what might come next. And in that moment, I realized I was no longer sure who we were anymore. The days following Maya's return were suffocating. Each morning, I would wake up with a tight knot in my chest, a constant reminder of what had happened. I tried to go through the motions, make coffee, go to work, pretend like everything was fine. But it was impossible. Everything felt different. Every glance, every touch, every word between us felt like it had been fractured by that one devastating truth. She kissed someone else. And even now, days later, I couldn't shake the weight of that knowledge. Maya tried. She tried so hard to bridge the gap between us. She would ask if we could talk, if we could spend time together, but it always felt forced. I would sit across from her at the dinner table, our meals untouched, both of us staring at our plates in silence. I could see the desperation in her eyes, the way she would reach out, her hands trembling, like she was begging me to just see her again, to forgive her. But I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to look at her and not see the woman who had betrayed me. One night, after another painful dinner that ended with awkward silence, she broke the stillness with a question that I hadn't been expecting. "Do you still love me?" she asked, her voice trembling. The question hung in the air between us, a question that shouldn't have felt so hard to answer. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to pull her into my arms and tell her that we could fix it, that we could move past this. But the truth was, I wasn't sure anymore. I wasn't sure if I could ever look at her the same way again. I wasn't sure if I could ever trust her the way I once had. "I don't know," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know, Maya. I don't know if I can love you the way I did. Not after this." Her face fell, and she looked away, biting her lip to hold back the tears. I could feel the agony in her, the deep ache that matched the one I felt inside. But even that pain wasn't enough to make me forget what had happened. It wasn't enough to make me forget the way I felt when she told me she had kissed another man, a man I didn't even know. For days we were trapped in a cycle of quiet tension. Maya would try to talk to me, to explain, to apologize, but I would retreat further into myself. I couldn't look at her without thinking about that kiss. I couldn't touch her without feeling a pang of betrayal. It was like the love I had for her had been consumed by a fire, leaving only the ashes behind. I thought about leaving. I thought about walking away and never looking back. But there was something in me that couldn't let go. Maybe it was the history we had shared, the years of laughter and love. Or maybe it was just fear of being alone, fear of losing everything I had built with her, fear of being betrayed again, but this time, by myself. It wasn't until one night, almost a week after her confession, that something changed. I came home late from work, exhausted from the long day, and I found Maya sitting on the couch in the living room. The house was dark, except for the soft glow of the lamp beside her. She looked up when I walked in, her face pale and drawn. "I need to tell you something," she said quietly. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't sure if I was ready for more of the truth. But part of me knew there was still something she wasn't telling me. There was something she was holding back, some piece of the puzzle that she hadn't yet shared, and that scared me more than anything. "What is it?" I asked, my voice tense. Maya took a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly as she gripped the edge of the couch. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened. And I think I owe you more than just an apology. I owe you the truth, all of it." My stomach churned and I braced myself. I had no idea what she was about to say, but I felt the weight of it already. I wasn't ready to hear anything else that might tear me apart, but I needed to. I needed to know everything. "The night I kissed Oliver," she began, her eyes dropping to the floor, as if she couldn't bear to meet my gaze. "It wasn't just a mistake. It wasn't just about feeling lost. It was something deeper than that. I've been unhappy, Liam. I haven't been happy for a while, and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to tell you that I was suffocating." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. "Unhappy?" I repeated, my voice incredulous. "We've been together for years, Maya. You were unhappy and didn't tell me?" "I didn't know how," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I couldn't. I made terrible decisions because I didn't know how else to cope. I thought if I just distracted myself, if I just pretended everything was fine, maybe I could fix it. But it only made things worse. I wanted to shout, to yell at her for keeping this from me for so long, for thinking that hiding the truth was better than facing it. But instead, I stood there, paralyzed by the weight of her confession. "You should have told me, Maya," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "You should have come to me. You should have trusted me with your pain. But instead, you chose him. You chose someone else. And now, I don't know if I can ever trust you again." She stood up slowly, her face streaked with tears. "I'm sorry. I know I can't take back what I did. I don't deserve your trust, but I'll do whatever it takes to earn it back. Please don't give up on us. Don't give up on me." Her words hung in the air, but they didn't bring the relief I thought they might. I still loved her. I still wanted to believe that we could work through this. But I couldn't ignore the fact that something had been broken. And once something is broken, can it ever truly be fixed? The next few days felt like I was living with a stranger who was wearing my wife's face. Maya moved around the house like a ghost, her presence heavy and yet distant at the same time. Every time I looked at her, I was reminded of what she'd done, and no matter how much I tried, I couldn't erase the image of her lips on someone else's. The smallest moments, her glancing at her phone, her smile, even the way she said my name, all carried a weight they never had before. It was like everything had been tainted, and I couldn't stop myself from replaying the night she told me. I tried to bury myself in work, staying late at the office just to avoid being home. But when I did come back, the silence was deafening. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was strained, like we were both choosing our words too carefully, afraid of starting a fight we couldn't finish. I hated feeling like this, like I was tiptoeing around the woman who used to be my safe place. One night, I came home around midnight, exhausted from working late, and found Maya awake in the kitchen. She was sitting at the table with her laptop closed, a cup of tea in front of her. She looked up when I entered, and for the first time in days, I saw something different in her eyes. She looked terrified. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady but soft. I set my keys down slowly, bracing myself. "Okay, talk." She swallowed hard and looked down at her tea before speaking again. "I've been thinking a lot about what I told you, and there's more you need to know." My chest tightened. "More?" I said sharply. What else could there possibly be? She winced at my tone, but didn't back down. "I told you about the kiss, but what I didn't tell you was, I saw him again." The words hit me like a freight train. I felt my pulse spike as anger and panic collided in my chest. "You saw him again?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "When? Where? Are you telling me this now, after everything?" "It wasn't planned," she said quickly, her eyes pleading with me to believe her. "It was 2 days ago. I was driving back from work, and I stopped at the cafe where we first talked. He was there, and I didn't know what to do. He came over, and we talked for a few minutes. That's it. I left. I swear, Liam, nothing happened. I didn't want to lie to you, but I also didn't want to hurt you any more than I already have." I stared at her, feeling a burning heat rise in my chest. My mind was screaming at me to leave, to get out of the house, to breathe before I said something I couldn't take back, but my legs wouldn't move. "You saw him again," I muttered, barely recognizing my own voice. "And you thought not telling me was the better option?" "I was afraid," she admitted, tears filling her eyes. "I was afraid you'd think it meant something. It doesn't. I don't want him, Liam, I don't. But I felt like I needed to see him one last time just to, I don't know, close that chapter." I laughed bitterly, the sound hollow and unfamiliar. "Close that chapter? Maya, you opened a chapter I didn't even know existed. And now you're asking me to believe you just wanted closure? Do you have any idea what this is doing to me?" She broke down then, her shoulders shaking as she covered her face with her hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered through her sobs. "I don't know what's wrong with me. I hate what I did to us. I hate that I hurt you. I don't even know why I'm like this right now. I feel like I'm falling apart, and I'm dragging you down with me." I stood there, watching her cry, my own anger warring with a deep sadness. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her it would be okay, but I couldn't bring myself to touch her. Not yet. I was too raw, too angry, too lost in my own head. All I could do was stand there, silent, while she fell apart at the kitchen table. Finally, I spoke, my voice low but firm. "I can't keep doing this, Maya. I can't keep wondering if there's more you're not telling me. I need the full truth, every detail. No more half-truths, no more secrets. If we're going to have any chance at fixing this, I need everything on the table." She nodded slowly, wiping her tears. "There's nothing else, I swear. You know everything now. It was just that kiss. And that second meeting. Nothing more. I promise you. But even as she said the words, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she wasn't saying. Something darker lurking beneath the surface. The problem was, I wasn't sure if I wanted to hear it, because every truth so far had been like a knife in my chest. That night, I barely slept. I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with every worst-case scenario imaginable. Who was this guy really? Did she feel something for him that she didn't feel for me anymore? And the question I hated most, was this just the beginning of something that would break us for good? The following morning, I woke up with an unsettling heaviness in my chest. Maya was already downstairs, and the smell of coffee lingered faintly in the air. I didn't go down immediately. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I had ended up here, lying next to someone I didn't fully recognize anymore. My mind was an endless loop of her words, her face when she confessed, and the hollow way she said, "It didn't mean anything." I knew her well enough to tell when something was being left unsaid, and no matter how many times she claimed there was. Nothing more. I couldn't believe her. Not entirely. I finally dragged myself downstairs, and there she was, sitting at the kitchen table in her robe, scrolling through her phone. When she saw me, she quickly set it face down on the table, forcing a strained smile. "Morning," she said softly, as if she didn't want to disturb the fragile silence between us. I poured myself some coffee without responding, my mind immediately catching on that single small detail, the way she placed her phone face down. Maya never used to do that. I tried not to let it bother me, but it gnawed at me in the background. I sat opposite her, the silence stretching uncomfortably. She cleared her throat, trying to sound casual. "I was thinking, maybe we could take a weekend trip, just the two of us, get away from everything and talk." Her voice was hesitant, like she wasn't sure I'd agree. "Talk?" I repeated, sipping my coffee. "We've done nothing but talk since you told me, Maya, and I'm still no closer to understanding why you did what you did." She flinched at my tone, but didn't fight back. "I just want to fix this, Liam. I want us to be okay again." "Then tell me everything," I said bluntly. "Because I don't think you have. I think you're holding something back." I watched her face carefully as I said this, and sure enough, I saw the flicker of guilt, just for a split second, before she composed herself. "I told you everything," she said quietly, looking down at her coffee. "I swear I did." I wanted to believe her, but something inside me screamed that she wasn't being fully honest. I decided not to push her, not yet, but I knew I had to start paying attention, to watch for cracks in her story. Something was off, and if I had to dig for the truth myself, I would. Later that day, while she was showering, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I picked it up. My hands were shaking as I unlocked it. I knew her passcode, but I hesitated for a long moment, wondering if I even wanted to see what I might find. But curiosity and anger won out. I opened her messages. Most were innocent, just chats with friends and her mom. But then I saw one name that stood out to me like a flashing red light. O. It wasn't a full name, just an initial. My heart pounded as I tapped on it. The conversation was short, but telling. A message from him, sent just yesterday. "I wish we could talk like we did the other night. You seemed so happy then." There was no reply from Maya, but the fact that his message was there, that they'd spoken again, hit me like a sucker punch. When she came downstairs later, I couldn't hold back anymore. "Who's O?" I asked flatly, holding her phone out. The color drained from her face instantly. "Liam, you went through my phone?" "Answer me, Maya," I said, my voice cold and steady. "Who is he? Why is he texting you like that?" She looked like she was about to cry. "It's Oliver," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "The guy I told you about. He just reached out." I didn't reply. I slammed the phone down on the table, anger boiling over. "Don't you dare lie to me, Maya. You said it was just one kiss, one mistake. But now you're still talking to him? You're letting him text you like this? What the hell is going on?" "I'm not lying," she cried, tears spilling down her face. "I didn't respond to him. I didn't ask for this. He just keeps reaching out and I don't know how to make him stop." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But her story didn't add up. Why would he be texting her like that if nothing else happened? Why would he say, like we did the other night, if they hadn't met again? My gut told me there was more to this than she was admitting, and it was eating me alive. That night, I barely slept again. I lay there, staring at her while she slept, wondering who she really was now. I kept replaying everything, the messages, her hesitation, the way she looked when I asked her about O. And somewhere deep down, a terrible thought took root. What if this wasn't just a kiss? What if she was lying to me about everything? I knew I couldn't let it go. I had to find out the truth, even if it destroyed me. The next few days were pure torture. I was living with someone I loved, yet I felt like I was sleeping next to a stranger every single night. Every time Maya's phone buzzed, I felt my chest tighten like a vice. She would casually flip it over, or walk into another room to answer. And while she swore nothing was happening, my gut told me I was being played for a fool. I hated feeling this paranoid, but I couldn't shake the feeling that her story about Oliver wasn't the full truth. On Tuesday morning, I woke up before her, unable to sleep again. I sat in the kitchen with a mug of coffee, staring at nothing, when I heard her phone buzz on the nightstand upstairs. I didn't touch it this time. I didn't have to. I could feel in my bones that she was hiding something. I decided then and there that I wasn't going to sit in this house like a coward, waiting for more pieces of truth to drop. I needed to know what was happening behind my back, even if it broke me completely. That afternoon, I left work early. I told my boss I wasn't feeling well, which wasn't exactly a lie. My stomach had been in knots for days. I parked my car 2 streets over from Maya's office and waited. My heart was pounding so hard, I could barely hear my own thoughts. I felt like an idiot for doing this, like some jealous lunatic. But the truth was, I couldn't trust her anymore. Not after what I'd seen on that phone. Around 5 p.m., I saw her walk out of the building. She wasn't alone. My hands tightened on the steering wheel when I saw him. A tall guy with dark hair, maybe mid-30s, dressed in a casual jacket. He was smiling at her in that way men do when they're trying to get inside your world, and she was smiling back, though hers looked more nervous than genuine. They didn't touch, but they walked close enough that it felt like a dagger to my chest. I followed them, slowly keeping a few cars behind. My mind raced with every possible scenario. Where were they going? Was she about to lie to me again? I felt like I was living in some twisted movie, where the person you trust most suddenly becomes a stranger plotting behind your back. They stopped at a small, quiet coffee shop on the corner. It wasn't far from her office, but I'd never seen her go there before. I parked across the street, keeping my head low as I watched them through the glass window. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I could see her expression. Tense, conflicted. She wasn't laughing or flirting, but she wasn't walking out either. 15 minutes passed, maybe 20. I could feel my heart breaking with every second I watched them sitting there. At one point, Oliver leaned in, speaking softly, and Maya put her hands on the table, not pulling back, but not leaning closer either. I wanted to storm in there, to grab her by the arm and demand answers in front of him, but some part of me held back. I needed to know more. I needed to see how far this would go. When they finally got up to leave, I stayed in the car, ducking down as they walked past. They didn't touch, but they were talking, their faces close as if they were sharing something private. Maya got into her car and drove off. Oliver walked down the street and disappeared around the corner. I sat there for a good 10 minutes, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. When I got home later, Maya was already there, cooking dinner like nothing had happened. She looked up at me with a soft smile, the same smile she'd been giving me since all this began. That guilty, almost pleading smile that screamed, "Please believe I'm still the same person." "How was work?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Busy," she said without hesitation, not even blinking. I grabbed a coffee after, just needed a minute to myself. You know how it is. A coffee. She wasn't lying, not exactly, but she wasn't telling the truth either. I sat there through dinner, barely tasting the food, barely hearing her attempts at small talk. Every time she looked at me, I wondered if she had any idea I'd seen her. Did she think I was that blind, that forgiving, that weak? That night, as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling for hours. I realized I couldn't just sit here anymore. If she wasn't going to give me the truth, I was going to drag it into the light myself. The next day I would confront her, but not with questions. No, this time, I'd be armed with the truth I'd seen with my own eyes. I was done playing the clueless husband. The next morning, I woke up with a decision already made. I was done torturing myself with doubts and suspicions. I needed to confront Maya. Not with anger this time, but with honesty. The same honesty I had been demanding from her. If there was any chance of saving us, I had to stop letting resentment eat me alive. She was sitting in the kitchen, sipping her coffee when I walked in. She looked up at me with that tired smile, the one that had been her default lately, and I felt a pang in my chest. She looked exhausted, like this whole thing was breaking her too. "Maya," I started, my voice calm but steady. "I need to talk to you, and I need you to be completely honest with me. No half-truths, no hiding, no leaving things unsaid. Can you do that?" She froze, her coffee cup halfway to her lips, then set it down slowly. "I can," she said quietly, her eyes glistening with worry. I took a deep breath. "I followed you yesterday." The words came out heavier than I expected. "I saw you with him. At the coffee shop." Her eyes widened, and for a moment she looked like she might deny it, but then she just nodded, tears welling up. "Liam, I wasn't meeting him to betray you. I wanted to tell him to leave me alone. He's been trying to reach out ever since that night, and I needed to make it clear it was over. I just didn't want to bring you more pain by telling you." I stared at her, searching for any sign of a lie, but there was something in her voice, a rawness, a desperation, that felt real. "Why didn't you tell me? Why hide it?" "Because I've been terrified," she admitted, her voice breaking. "Terrified of losing you. I thought if I told you about every mistake, every stupid moment of weakness, you'd hate me. I hate myself for what I did, Liam. That kiss. It wasn't worth anything. It wasn't about love or him. It was about me feeling broken, and I took it out on us. I will never forgive myself for that, but I can't lose you because of one awful mistake." Her words hit me like a wave. I stood there, looking at her, the woman I had built a life with, the one I'd loved through every season of our lives. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I didn't just see the betrayal. I saw her pain, her fear. And I realized I wasn't blameless either. I hadn't seen how unhappy she was. I hadn't asked enough questions. Maybe I had been coasting, assuming we were fine, without really checking if she was. I walked over to her slowly and sat down beside her. "Do you want this marriage, Maya?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Do you still want me? Because I'm not staying if you're half here and half somewhere else." She grabbed my hand, holding it tightly like it was the only thing keeping her afloat. "I want you. I want us. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this, Liam. Therapy, counseling, anything. I can't lose you. Please don't let this be the end of us." For the first time in days, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the faint flicker of hope. I pulled her into my arms, and she clung to me like she was afraid I'd disappear. "Then we fight for this," I said softly, my voice breaking. "But I need your honesty, Maya. From now on, no secrets, no lies. We can't build anything on that. Promise me." "I promise," she whispered, her tears soaking my shoulder. We spent the rest of that day talking, really talking, in a way we hadn't done in years. We laid everything bare, her feelings of being unseen, my tendency to bottle things up, all the little cracks that had built up over time. It wasn't easy. It hurt like hell. But as the hours passed, I realized that maybe this was the first real step toward healing. That night, for the first time in weeks, we fell asleep holding each other. There were no more walls, no more silence. Just two broken people who still loved each other enough to try again. And in that quiet moment, I realized something powerful. Sometimes love isn't about never breaking. It's about being strong enough to put the pieces back together, no matter how jagged they are. We weren't perfect. We had a long road ahead. But as I looked at Maya sleeping beside me, I knew I still wanted that road, with her.